Moringa. Turns out you can buy it in the store. I started a number of years ago, always looking for different kinds of seeds. And like my dad, he would go through seed catalogs and get everything unusual he could find. So I went to rare earth, rare seed catalogs, and they were selling moringa, which I'd never heard of. And this would be a little over a decade ago. And so I started looking into it and found all sorts of interesting things about how good it is for you. So I started growing it, and I now have just one tree in my garden, and it is now 7 years old. It was cut down at the end of last year to about 6, maybe 7 feet, and already from this year it has sprouted up and has gone up to about 20, maybe a little more than that. And I promised that in the garden that I wouldn't let it get any bigger than an orange tree, but it's already bigger than an orange tree. So we've harvested it throughout the season. I've already dried up a number of bags of moringa. Let me see. And I also have brochures. This is some of what we harvested about maybe 4 weeks ago, maybe 3. And this is just a part of what we harvested, and we're going to have much more by the end of the season, which will be just before the freeze. I even have brochures that I hand out to my friends and neighbors on the benefits. And so this is moringa, and this is what the tree looks like, and it's a beautiful tree and comes up by its roots even after the freeze. So in this climate it will not survive the winter if we have a hard freeze. By a hard freeze, that gets down to about 27 degrees, and last year it never got below 32. So again, it was raised up in the foothills of the Himalayas over 5,000 years ago in the area that's now known as India. And we talked about this in the Rita garden, where we were growing and selling moringas to the public, including seeds. And we had a lot of people show up. Not a huge amount, but people did show up. They bought the seeds, and they bought the moringa plants that we had grown, and don't know where they are now, but I know my neighbor here and where we're living now has one in her front yard. Her neighbor down a ways a little bit further, it also has one growing in her front yard, and she wanted one for shade, and so we planted this little scrawny moringa stem, which was one we had dug up from our garden, because I had several, about 5 that we dug up, and then another couple from the Rita garden because it's being closed. And so all of them have roots in the ground, and all of them are growing. And so the scrawny little twig we had out in her front yard, my neighbor here, she was very doubtful that this would ever make shade. Well, right about now, that was the beginning of this year, right about now it is already 15 feet tall, and it's already shading her front porch, and before long it's going to shade the second story neighbor's front porch. And they're remarkable. You can cut them down and they'll just come up by the roots. If the roots don't freeze, it will survive in our climate. But down in Mexico, there are places that do not freeze, and it is a cash crop. Now, I'm still trying to find out from my neighbor who cleverly went down and bought moringa leaf in a bag. I was going to find out how much she paid for that. But in the powder form, it goes for $1 an ounce. So it is a cash crop. And I would encourage the Mexican market to consider growing in their frost-free zone moringa, as opposed to corn or whatever they do. But crops like that, they'll make a lot more if they sell the moringa. The market is somewhat limited, but you can also get the pills at Walgreens. Moringa pills has one ingredient. They harvest it in India, in the plantations where they grow it. The stumps are about this big around and cut off about maybe 8 feet high, and it all comes out every year, and they cut it all down, they wash it, dry it, and then make powder or pills from it, and repeat. And these trees are 30 years old or more, and it's a miracle. They call it a miracle tree, or the tree of life, or the horseradish, or the drumstick tree. Look them up. They're all on the internet. And so just basically found out that it really actually does work. I always read that it has curative properties and it'll fix anything. But not too long ago, just a couple of months ago, I had a real urological issue, and I really had casually taken moringa tea, but I got serious because it was kind of scary. So I got really down on drinking a lot more and concentrated and every day the moringa tea, and it all cleared up. And so by the time I got to the doctor's office to find out what was wrong, and they had no symptoms. And so I explained to him, well, it's got to be the moringa, because I didn't take any antibiotics, I didn't do anything else but that. And he goes, what? M-O-R-I-N-G-A, Moringa. Never heard of it. Not surprising. Yeah, they don't like patients that are self-medicating, and it's the issue with the big pharma, if you want to put it that way, because this is like organic, no ingredients other than moringa in the products they sell. The leaf is what I use for tea. You can use the powder for anything, smoothies, cook with it. The drumsticks, that is the bean pods, will get to be about this big or long, and sometime about the size of your thumb. And that is a big source of food for when they were growing it back in the day, and when they had problems with their crops. The moringa saved many lives because of all of the nutrition that's in it. But they would be largely eating the pods. And when they're small, they're like green beans, and when they're bigger, you can scrape out the insides, and you can even eat the seeds. And the whole tree is edible, even the roots, which is why they call it the horseradish tree, because the roots apparently taste like horseradish. but I wouldn't know because I never dug one up to try it. I planted mine. But the leaf is what I use. And I have a French press that I keep in my little refrigerator here. And I'll make this up usually the night before and put it in my refrigerator and then basically finish this off the next day. So I've already had half of this so far, and it surprisingly works. But also with a French press, you can take the raw leaves, so it even got sticks in it still. And then I have peppermint, which I've also harvested from my garden, and then I throw in, you know, things like turmeric and ginger, and load it up with everything good and make it strong. And like I say, I've not had a recurrence, and even my neighbor, which I had, a friend actually, I had taken some to a birthday party and had talked to her about it and gave her, you know, a glass of it, well, the lid on it, of course, but and she was drinking that during the birthday party, and at the end of the party she said, you know, I feel much better. And so I gave her the brochure and a bag of the leaf and a couple of seeds. I still have seeds here, and this is all available. And moringa seeds, all of it's available on Amazon or, you know, wherever you get stuff, usually Amazon. And I cannot emphasize how much that we should pursue natural healing methods. And when you got to go to the doctor, you got to go. And if you got to take antibiotics, take them. But, you know, doctor, heal thyself. This was kind of my dad's thing. He thought he had cancer in his 40 and went on a save your life diet. And he was a little disappointed because he only made it to 93. I should be so lucky. But he actually didn't know about moringa back in the day. But if he had known about moringa, he might still be around. Probably not. Anyway, that's my point on moringa. I recommend you Google it, look it up, and go to Walgreens. They can buy the pills, or you can buy the leaf. Apparently, it's available, and or better yet, plant it, grow it, and that's it. Just do that, and be well and prosper. Thank you.